Welcome to Vedic Mathematics Basis Base Values classes. We are in this phase 12 with a focus upon Shadrudra Samhita, are now reaching a phase and stage when we shall have a evaluation of the comprehensive view of the values and features which are at work and are within our insight. For it, let us mention that there is a concept of a self-referral filters. It is a concept of a chand, a mayer. So chand is one technical term and man is another technical term, and in the context of it there is a concept of bimb. These three concepts are at work at different levels and in different contexts. The self-referral filters, we know it is with this concept with respect to a six-space domain. Therefore, it is with respect to the six-space domain that our focus will be as to how, when we are dealing with the transcendental domain, a five-space domain, then how is it that six-space plays its role, and how is it that five-space and six-space are interconnected with it, and how six-space plays its role. Now, word filters may be taken as simple rendering for chand, means the mayers, and we are having a chand Vedant. So it is taking us to from Ved to Vedant. There are six Vedangas: Shiksha, Vyakaran, Chand, or the initial Vedangas. Therefore, if we have to enter the Vedic domain, that we have to enter through Vedangas: Shiksha, Vyakaran, Nirukt, Chand, Jyotish, and Kalp. These are six Vedangas. Now here our focus is going to be upon chand, which also takes us to man, a mayer of the Sthapatya mayering rod as it is. So chand and mayer, and bimb takes us to the image, so is light. So when we'll be on a light or when on a reflection operation, then in that context the object and image concept will be there. When we will be on the mayering rod, then the mayer and the mayering rod dimension and the domain concept would be there. And chand is a one concept which is interconnected with the mayers, and it in fact means a filters. When particular flow is there, so values of flow, say the transcendental domain as transcendental content, when this transcendental content flows, then this flow of the transcendental content as transcendental content lumps, as transcendental content lump entities, and so these discrete entities flow. So from the static state to a dynamic state, when an entity goes from static state to a dynamic state, so when a space content lump as an entity is as a discrete entity, when it is in a dynamic state, then it becomes a flow. Now this flow as a dynamic state, when is truncated, punctuated, mayered, packed, put into a domains within a boundaries, so these enveloped domains of the format of the hypercubes, so manifested creations, these all are the features which are interconnected. But today we are going on the first principles. So on the first principles we take it that our space is, when it is in the form of a rectangle or a square or a space within these four boundary lines. So triangle is the first body of three arms, and it is not having any of the internal diagonals. So the space enveloped by this triangle is not having any internal diagonals. So it is the zero state of its diagonals. And we are well acquainted with these triple values 3, 4, 5, and then their area becomes a 6. Then ultimately it becomes a quadruple value 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we know this value 3, 4, 5, 6 is a hypercube of 5. So it is a 5-space body. And these three, there are three sides enveloping a surface, and this surface is as it is leading to area which is of value 6. So it is here that we are not having any internal diagonal. So it is a feature of a triangle. Now let us go to a rectangle. So there are four sides, and from each of the corner points there is only one internal diagonal. This internal diagonal, so when it is from this edge to this edge, it is of say this orientation, and from opposite it would be an opposite orientation. So these pair of diagonals, internal diagonals connecting two corner points will get superimposed, like +1 and -1 getting superimposed. It is this setup, this feature of a diagonal. So internal diagonal, a pair of internal diagonals, because of an opposite orientations, get superimposed upon themselves. So if from each corner point there is going to be diagonal, therefore four corner points, so there would be four quadruple diagonals, and these four quadruple diagonals in fact will making a pair of diagonals because of the superimposition, and these pair of diagonals intersect themselves and pass through the center, and as such this at center. So there are two diagonals. So there is a rectangle of sides 4. There are two diagonals. Actually these are two pairs because there would be four diagonals. These two pairs, this pair of paired diagonals, so there will remain two diagonals, and these two diagonals intersect, and so here they both of them pass through the center. A step ahead, when we reach a pentagon, then from each of the corner point of a pentagon there would be a pair of internal diagonals. So there are pentagon, there are 5 sides, so there would be 10 diagonals, as 2 diagonals emanate from each of the corner point. In the opposite orientations again will make it 5 pairs, and so its ultimate reach would be of a 5 diagonals. Now these 5 diagonals we know when they intersect in such a way that they make an internal pentagon, and none of these internal diagonal passes through the center of the pentagon. Let us have a pause here. In case of a rectangle of 4 sides, we are having 2 pairs of diagonals, means 4, which make it a set of 2 diagonals for us, and both of them pass through the center. When we are at pentagon, then we are having 10, we are having 5 pairs, and these 5s lead to 5 diagonals, and these diagonals construct an internal pentagon, and none of these diagonals passes through the center. Let us have a pause here. We know here, in case of a rectangle, a polygon of 4 sides, we get a pair of diagonals. In case of pentagon, 5 sides body, we get 5 diagonals. We know this value 2 and this value 5, is 2 plus 3. Now if we go a step ahead to an hexagon, then we see the hexagon gives us that from each corner, there are 6 sides, from each corner there are 3 internal diagonals, and these make 18 diagonals, and these make 9 pairs of diagonals, and value 9 is equal to 2 plus 3 plus 4. This is the feature which shall be captioned. We shall make a note: when there is a polygon of sides 4, we reach at 2 diagonals. When we have a polygon of sides 5, we reach at 2 plus 3, 5 diagonals. When we are at polygon of side 6, we reach at 9 diagonals, and these are 2 plus 3 plus 4. So it is easy to project it that polygon 4 takes to 2 diagonals, polygon 5 takes to 2 plus 3 diagonals, polygon 6 takes to 2 plus 3 plus 4 diagonals. So then we can extend it. 7 goes to 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and like that a sequence will follow. Now one may have a pause here and take note that this feature of polygon 4 giving us 2 internal diagonals superimposed of both orientations, polygon 5 leading us to 2 plus 3, polygon 6 leading us to 2 plus 3 plus 4, polygon 7 takes us to 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and so on it goes on. One can have a pause here and take note that this happening is that when we have a synthesis of the linear dimensions, then one dimension gives a value 1, the pair of dimensions give us value 3, triple dimensions give us value 6, quadruple dimensions give us value 10, 5 dimensions give us value 15, and the 6 gives us value 60, and so on. Now if we are having a spatial dimension, it gives value 2, the pair of spatial dimensions give us value 4, triple spatial dimensions give us value 6, quadruple give us value 8, and 5 gives us 10, 6 gives us 12. Let us have a pause here and take note that now this table, if we draw like this, the linear dimensions are giving us value 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, and spatial dimensions are giving us value 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 15. Let us see the difference. The difference between parallel these steps are equal to -1, it is -1, it is 0, it is 2, it is 5, it is 9. Now see, this is value 2, this is value 2 plus 3, and it is value 2 plus 3 plus 4, and step ahead you can see that it will be 18 and it would be 40, difference will be 14, and it will be 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Let us have a pause here. Let us revisit this whole happening. These structures deserve to be revisited. We shall make a specific note as that the structural phenomenon of the internal diagonals of polygons. The internal diagonals of the polygons lead us to the sequence of 2, 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3 plus 4, 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and so on. Further, let us see that the synthesis, dimensional synthesis phenomenon as well is leading us to a parallel reach. As we know that the linear dimensions, one dimension has value 1, and pair has 3, triples have 6, quadruple have value 10, penta have 5, 15, then 21, and 28 and so on. When we are at the spatial dimensions, that means when we are two space in the role of a dimension, the single spatial dimension gives us value 2, pair of spatial dimensions give us value 4, triple spatial dimensions give us value 6, quadruple give us value 8, then we get value 10, or value 15 and so on. And when we see the difference of these two linear dimensions synthesis values and parallel spatial dimension synthesis values, then the difference of these values come to be the 2, 5, 9, 14, and from this. So it is from the quadruple dimensions the difference. So when we are having 4 dimensions of linear order and 4 dimensions of spatial order, the difference value comes to be 2. So when we are having 5 linear dimensions of these lead to value 15 and 5 spatial dimensions give us to value 10, the difference value is 5, which is 2 plus 3. It is as if here we are at polygon 4. So polygon 4 gives us a pair of internal diagonals. Polygon 5 gives us a 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 internal diagonals. Polygon 6 gives us this 2 plus 3 plus 4, 9 internal diagonals. Polygon 7 gives us as many as the 14 internal diagonals. This feature is a feature which is being availed by the Vedic systems, and it is being fully exploited, or it can be said it is being fully availed. Therefore, the students of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology shall revisit the polygons. So polygon 4 gives us a pair of internal diagonals. Polygon 5 gives us 5 diagonals. Polygon 6 gives us 9 diagonals. Polygon 7 gives us 14 diagonals. So stepwise, polygon 8 will give us 20 and so on. So it is here we are 2 plus 3, here we are 2 plus 3 plus 4, here we are at 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, here we are 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, and like that we can extend and we can reach up till any of these stages. Now this feature of the polygons in terms of its internal diagonals is a feature which is of a wide implications in higher dimensional spaces manifestation within the creators of space. So the creators of space, fourth space of a spatial order, gives us a phenomenon as that the synthesis values of the linear dimensions and synthesis value of the spatial dimensions as such are coordinated and organized and are of such a features that the difference value at the each step, at each processing step, the difference value is as if we are reaching at the structure of the polygons internal diagonals. So polygons internal diagonals structural setup and organization is in fact parallel to the structural organization of the difference of the synthesis values of a linear order and of a spatial order, and it is one of the basic features, one of the basic values which is being fully exploited by the Vedic systems. And in fact the Vedic systems are the systems which are availing many features, and of that one feature is that we will be having a dimension as one of the folds. Then we are having boundary as the second fold. Then we are having domain as the third fold. Then we are having origin as the fourth fold. And we are having transcendental base. And like that we proceed. So when we proceed, first fold, second fold, third fold, fourth fold, fifth fold, sixth fold, seventh fold, eighth fold, and so on, then we are taking it that once it plays the role of a dimension, then there would be a synthesis phenomenon. When this two space, though at a boundary, when it will play the role of a dimension, then it will also have its own synthesis rule. Therefore, when we reach from dimension to, say, when we reach to a boundary. Say we are at the linear order space, which means a 3 space means a cube. Here one space is playing the role of a dimension. However, plane 2 space is playing the role of a boundary. This boundary, when is stripped off, then it will be dimensionalized the outside space as a creator's space and a force space. Now it is this creation, it is this manifestation of the outer space from the linear order 3 space body, when will be having a strip off for its a boundary which is a 2 space. It will be dimensionalizing the outside as a creator's space. Therefore 3 space body as a cube, when will be giving us the linear dimensions, then its synthesis values we know would be at 3, then 6, 10 and so on. However, when the boundary would strip off and reach the creator's space, it would be of the reach like this. And here we see that the difference value as far as the triple dimensions are concerned. So when we reach at this phase and stage of triple dimensions, may it be of linear order or may it be of a spatial order, then in both cases the value remains same. Therefore, the triple dimensions synthesis phenomenon of linear dimensions as well as of the spatial dimensions is of value 6, and everything goes indistinguishable. It is this feature of indistinguishability of the dimensional orders. So synthesis phenomenon of the dimensions will take us to a situation when may it be the linear dimensions or may it be the spatial dimensions. In both cases, the triple dimensions will take us to the same value, and everything will get so superimposed that everything will go indistinguishable. It is not only with respect to linear and spatial dimensions, but we know that this difference value, which is of the linear dimensions and spatial dimensions, this value -1, -0, 1, 2, it is that when this difference value, we instead of this, if we go say solid dimension, that it will be giving us the values of 3, 5, 6 and so on. And the difference between these two, so as is the difference between the linear and spatial dimensions, this so the difference between the spatial and solid dimension also would remain this way. Let us make a specific note. The difference between the linear dimensions of synthesis values and the spatial dimension synthesis values, which comes to be as it is, this difference value remains constant even when we reach at the difference value between the spatial and solid dimensions. In fact, n-dimensional order and n+1 dimensional order, any pair of consecutive dimensional orders, so n space has a dimension, then the pair of n space dimensions, then triple n space dimensions, like that pair of n+1 dimensions and triple n+1 dimensions. The synthesis value is a difference will remain this. No, it is this feature, it is this constant, it is this eternity which is responsible for giving eternity to the Vedic systems. Vedic systems have attained eternity only as the Vedic systems have been successful to comprehend and imbibe and to work out fully that the synthesis phenomenon of a pair of consecutive orders like linear order and spatial order, then the sequential synthesis of single, double, triple, quadruple linear dimensions, and on the other hand single, double, triple and quadruple spatial dimensions, then at each parallel steps the difference value will be coming to -1, -1, 0, 2, 5, 9 and 14 and so on. It is this difference value which remains constant it gives us as the structural setup of the polygons. So the sequence of polygons in terms of their internal diagonals are preserving such structural setup that this structural setup is the basic structural setup with whose comprehension we can successfully chase the solar universe existence phenomenon for its eternity, for its eternal values. The solar universe, as it is existing, as it is evolving, as it is renewing, as it is sustaining the existence phenomenon, as it is rejuvenating, augmenting, transforming, and making all transcendental happenings with respect to all types of mutations of the existence phenomenon and all cyclic orders as are there in the form of seed, tree and seed, or life, birth and rebirth. All these cycles are happening as per the eternal law of the existence phenomenon of solar universe, having manifestation within creator's space and the same permitting transcendence therefrom. So the 5-space domain within 4-space domain at the role of a origin creates a transcendental cavity. This transcendental cavity at the origin of the 4-space will be permitting chase parallel to the structural phenomenon of the pentagon at the origin, at the center of a quadruple or at a rectangle or a square. So polygon 4 with its center having a structure of polygon 5, and at the origin base, if we superimpose the structure of polygon 6, then the filters will happen. We know each pentagon is having internal pentagon constructed in terms of the internal diagonals. So none of the internal diagonals of the pentagon passes through the center, and this phenomenon happens ad infinitum. So polygon, internal polygon, internal polygon, internal polygon phenomenon continues, and center of the polygon eludes. Now it is here where the transcendental carriers phenomenons come in. This transcendental carriers phenomenon means that there is a synthesis of a pair of transcendence ranges. It is this synthesis of the pair of the transcendence ranges which that way groups the diagonals into pair of diagonals, and like that when we transcend from polygon 5 to polygon 6, then these internal diagonals of the hexagon will be organizing themselves in such a way that all of the diagonals will not pass through the center. Only one block of the diagonals will pass through the center, and the remaining block of the diagonals will go outside, will be prohibited from having an entry and reach at the center. It is this filter, it is this filtering phenomenon. It is this filtering phenomenon of the transcendental flow which at the base format of a hexagon 6-space domain gets filtered. That entire transcendental flow is not permitted to flow ahead. It is blocked. It is made of pair of parts, and one part of the transcendental flow is blocked at the center of the hexagon itself, and it is this phenomenon which is the phenomenon which is taking us to the Chandas Vedanga. So the meters, so a step ahead of the Shiksha, Vyakaran and Nirukt. There are three Vedangas, that is Chandas Vedanga, Jyotish Vedanga and Kalpa Vedanga. These three Vedangas are the Vedangas of transcendental filtered flow streams. This transcendental filter flow streams is the values, is the format of 5-space VMST. So 5-space VMST format is leading to the applied values in terms of the filters provided by the polygon 6 hexagon by a 6-space domain. 6-space domain provides filters to the transcendental flow. These filters are being availed fully by the Vedic systems. Therefore, the students of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology, which we are at present at Shat Rudra Samhita, when we are at the last chapter, 42nd chapter, then we will see that here there are Dwadas Adityas. Here the 5-space from the role of a domain is transiting and transforming into the role of a transcendental boundary of a 6-space. It is this reach for the transcendental domain at the transcendental boundary which is the reach of the filters. It is here where the transcendental flow, the transcendental values get filtered. It is this filtering of the transcendental values which deserves to be comprehended well. One shall sit comfortably, one shall permit the transcending mind to be parallel to this transcendental flow along the Sthapatya miring rod presided by Lord Vishnu and with the mire presided by Lord Brahma and the flow being presided by the transcendental Lord. Now this transcendental flow along the Sthapatya miring rod gets filtered. It is this filtering phenomenon which is going to be a focus for the sadhakas when we shall be proceeding ahead from Shat Rudra Samhita to Koti Rudra Samhita. Therefore, this filtering will ultimately take us to Ardhanareshwar format. It also will be taking us to as the division of the entire existence phenomenon as the Asur and as Devas. So those values of the Rakshasas and those values of the Devas. Now these filtered transcendental values of the reservoir of the Devas will become the Shaktis, will become the powers, will become the glorification boom. It is that glorification boom of the bliss which is going to play their role within Panch Avaran. The 5 folds of the transcendental domain will preserve the godly powers, the transcendental powers, and the remaining will get filtered. Now it is this filtering of the powers which will give a structure to 5-space domain like of a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. It is like an Akash and a Patal. And when it goes to a Patal, from there that deep sea layers from the Patal, those are also of the 7 layers. From those 7 layers, when the values are to be lifted, it would be the Uma Shakti, it would be the goddess Uma. And therefore, after the Koti Rudra Samhita, will be transiting and transforming ourselves and our systems and our intelligence field and our comprehension, our insight, our enlightenment, and the format of our intelligence field, which initially up till this stage is going to be within a creative folds, then it will remain within the transcendental fold. Transcendental domain within a transcendental fold is the phenomenon which will be taking us ahead of the Koti Rudra Samhita, and we will be there to the Uma Samhita, which will be taking us from Patal, the lowest ebb of the sea, and will take us up till the Kailash, the topmost of the Akash. It is this reach which is to be sequentially reached at. One should sit comfortably, one shall permit the transcending mind to be face to face with the existence phenomenon of the values preservation and its compartmentalization into the pair of the parts, and it is this split of the creative boundary of 10 components into pair of 5 components each, and those pair of 5 components of the creative boundary of the transcendental domain ultimately playing their role in terms of the self-referral filters. As we know, the pair of 4-space domains create a 6-space domain. Therefore, it is this self-referral domain providing us the filters. These self-referral filters of the Vedic systems and Vedic formats are to be glimpsed, and one is to be face to face with it, and the moment one would be face to face it, and the moment one will be imbibing this filters, a phenomenon of self-referral domain for the transcendental flow, then one may feel that really one is making oneself entitled for the transcendental grace. Thank you very much.